Hello everyone, I'm excited to get this class rolling. This is EDL 850 Module 1 assignment. This is the intro to me, and also we're going to go over the government control of public education. First off, who is me? I am Coulter Scott. First slide here is a bunch of pictures that kind of represent who I am and what I do. On the right there, first for my family guy. I have three sisters, one older, two younger. Two of them are married, and my youngest sister has my 3-year-old nephew, Reese. With my job and a lot of things, a lot of kids with disabilities, adults with disabilities is a lot of my life. I'm involved in Young Life Capernaum and Young Life as an organization, which is a youth group all around the United States. And then picture of one of the kiddos I work with that I have a lot of fun with in my job. Off to the left, I coach 3 sports, so stay very busy throughout the school year, all of the high school level. I start the year out with football, where I do offensive line and special teams coordinator. Then I bump over to girls basketball. I am the head freshman coach, but then also assist on the varsity when I can. Also, this last year, we were the 6A state champions for girls basketball. Lots of success there. And then I wrap up the year with coaching track and field, where I do all 3 throwing events, but really focus on shot put and discus. This summer, I've had the opportunity to start working with a former coworker that I got to be a pair under at one point in time. But with Woolly Farms Foundation, which is a local adult day service. My education background is I have an undergraduate degree from Baker University, and that is in sports administration. I then got my master's degree from Fort Hays in 2020, and wrapped it up in the peak of COVID, the start of COVID, which was wild and crazy, but that was in transition to teaching, and emphasis on the special education, and then currently working on the endorsement, just like everybody else here, on building leadership. Profession. I work for Auburn-Washburn Unified School District in Topeka, Kansas. We're south of Topeka, and I am the adaptive physical education teacher. So I work for the entire district, travel all across to all of our schools, work with kids K through 12 and our 18 to 21 transition program. I have a current caseload of 53 students and just an overall resource for teachers, PE teachers, and special education teachers, and any gross motor concerns, ideas for any of their students. As I've mentioned before, I also coach 3 sports, so stay pretty busy. Going into the content of stuff here for this module, government control of public education. There are 3 levels of control of government that kind of oversee everything in education: federal, state, and local. We're going to start out with the federal government and their involvement in public education. They're quoted at the top from Brown. The federal government has their responsibility to ensure the right to a free and high-quality education for all K through 12 students by protecting their civil rights and by providing resources for the most in need. Their main principles are to ensure that no student is denied, that everybody has the equal opportunity, not just solely based off the race, ethnicity, gender, disability, or other protected statuses. Have to compensate for some funding for some of the high needs students. It is not limited to, but also includes students living in poverty and students with disabilities. They also need to support education, research, and development, come up with ways to help broaden the nation's educational system and inform everybody about policies and practices that are appropriate. Then they also support the developmental improvement of all levels and other governments. Quick little recap, real short version of that: policies related to educational funding, collection and data research, identify problems in education at the national level, and then reinforce and enforce the discrimination laws. That's just a real kind of recap of what was just said. Examples of these and how they do this is Title IX, Section 504, multiple reconstructions of the Every Student Succeeds Act. That was No Student Left Behind at one point. It just keeps changing a little bit at a time. They also have some effect on just changing overall verbiage and terminology. An example is, using the word handicap to disability, and then in Higher Education Act, the progress reports, and that's just involving letting people know how everything works and how everything is going. Next, we're going to move to the state government and how they're involved. Each state has the primary accountability and to oversight how the public schools are being ran. They can create their own Department of Education that has been given them by the federal. Each state is allowed to create their responsibility, their governing body. They can delegate to a lot of the authority if they'd like it, but they can also reclaim it very quickly if they need to. They create and implement enforce standards for all the subjects and or create frameworks to be followed. It also determines how much budget of the state budget will be funded. This is usually one of the largest amounts of funds that comes out of the annual budget. Next would be just yet again another recap and examples of what the state government does for our districts, our schools. They provide and allocate funding for public schools. They set setting of the standards, which has already been mentioned, overseeing special services and disabilities and other challenges. They also license all of our schools and making sure they're up to date and are licensable. This would be, they do it for public, for private schools, and then any other charter schools or any other schools that are within their boundaries of their state. Then they license teachers, so that's going through the testing and then accrediting, backgrounds, all that stuff that goes into becoming a teacher, any other staff member, anybody that is involved working within the district. And then it also is electing and appointing at least some of the local and state school board members. They do have a say or a process within that, or at least guidelines that district need to follow of somebody that may need to be on the team. Now, last would be the local government. Local government would be really up to each school. In the Glossary of Education Reform, this is what they said the local control definition was: the governing and management of public schools by elected or appointed representatives serving on governing bodies, such as school boards or committees. These are located in the communities served by the schools. 2, the degree to which local leaders, institutions, and governing bodies can make independent or autonomous decisions about governance and operations to the public schools. Examples of these, just oversight of the school policies within the districts, adoption of the school budget and allocation of those resources, hiring and firing of the district's superintendent, other staff, the final say of things, direction and adoption of curriculum, bargaining agreements. They have the decisions on if the school should be closed, consolidated, or maybe even building a new one. Work closely with community and all stakeholders. Budget and fundraising are all part of the responsibilities of the local government, which is usually a board member, superintendents that do this. Go into Auburn-Washburn's school board, USD 437. We currently have 7 members on our board. The one that's been there the shortest has been 2 years now. The rest of them, the other 6, have been there between 4 to 10 years that have been on board and have been in different roles. We've even had a past president that stepped down from being president and is just being on the board and being there and being very successful. Professions within our members of our school board. We have an owner of a public affairs firm, so an attorney, chief officer of a bank, an owner of a magazine. We have an accounting and finance person. We have public relations, and then we have a lawyer. So very broad, a lot of things that are well needed and represented within our board members. That can go a long way. All of our board members have either grown up in Topeka, either gone to school within our district, or currently have had or have a child that attends. The duties and responsibilities of our school board. Right off the bat, they have a meeting twice a month. It is open to the public. Everything has been live streamed and recorded. Obviously, this has picked up a little bit more since COVID. That option, I don't believe, had always been there, but everything had been recorded in notes and was always provided for the public after a meeting. But now it is live streamed and is saved online, so people can go back and watch later. And they always encourage community input in those meetings. There's always an open forum time at the beginning. They do not go back and forth during that time. It is just to get ideas out and concerns out, and if things need to be relooked at later, they can. All the rest of things on this are just lists that help students and staff with technology, anything and everything that comes with what sort of systems we use, processes, and things like that. What the time of year it is, I don't know exactly all the exact systems that we use or the names of the systems or technology and all that stuff or other resources, because it is summer. I was not able to reach out to a couple to figure out some of those things for this assignment. But looking through the policy manual, these are all things that our Board of Education has to go through. Our policy is almost 600 page long. Obviously, there's not a whole lot of things on every single page, but it's a very long document. They go through a ton of stuff every year, and in charge of a lot of things. But a few of those things here is creating operations of budgets, fundraising, safety and concerns for all buildings, for all people. That is on school grounds, for events being off grounds, guidelines, overall goals and objectives for everybody. They have the final approval on hiring and terminations of an employee, approval and creation of new positions and classes, salary and how we adjust things, school curriculum, and that is in books, standards, courses, all that, how we use our technology for students and staff and within our buildings. They help with creation of evaluations. They do are part of the negotiation agreement stuff. And they help create ways to collect the data of goods and bads and uglies of our school, and how we can improve our district and how we can improve our schools to better our staff, to better us as a city, and also just obviously better our students to become great men and women for everybody. One of the main thing is that has also been improved on is just being open to the public and being communicate with all stakeholders. Having those 7 members be so involved in the city already, all around Topeka, this is one thing that they've done really well at. And then work personally with the superintendent one-on-one. They have to have that positive relationship, but also somebody that can hold somebody in check is a huge part of that as well. They have a lot of pressure. Obviously, with COVID, there's been a lot of ups and downs with boards across the United States, but I do believe ours has done a great job. Obviously, not everybody agrees with that, but they have done a really good job and responsible to making sure everybody's safe and still learning. My experiences with these 3 levels of government have been with the federal. I haven't had a whole lot of experience personally one-on-one talking. I haven't just called them up or emailed them and say, hey, here we are. I have had a lot of experience working with the ideas and rules and policies and guidelines that they pass down with working with kids with disability and adults with disability. There's a lot of policies, there's a lot of documents that come into play that we have to follow. The regulations, all the help, the equal opportunity and fair treatment of others. So even though I have not really worked on with anybody and done anything about it, I have done a lot of things with or the opportunities that they have been given down. My experience at the state, because our district is in Topeka, which is also the home place of the Kansas Department of Education. I've been able to attend and be a part of meetings, forums, and discussions on certain things within my realm of education, which is special education, or others, and be there supportive with others. So I also know that they work closely with our district because we're close, and they've been a great resource for us. And I would assume that they've helped saved in situations and really help us. At the local level, tons to do with our local government within our district. Superintendent is very open door policy, allows us to come talk to him about concerns or give ideas, is always around for us, is very open, and is at a lot of events. Our school board are all members of the community. They do the same thing. They're out and about, and they're very welcoming to all staff, and really, I feel like, make a point to get to know everybody. Had to work with them in good and bad situations. COVID-19, there was a ton of contact with them about how to implement adaptive PE during COVID. Pretty rough at times, but I was obviously able to get to it, but had to go through a lot of different situations. They were in contact with a lot of their people to help make sure that we followed rules that federal passed down and the state passed down, and that we were doing everything the best of our ability. Discussed with budget on my current position and opportunities that are out there for my students and what we need to better some of our education for our kids. Also have had some of the opportunity to work with some of their kids in the classroom and possibly on the field or court. These are my standard statements for this module. First one is the correlation. I obviously thought this was very important, and it correlated very well with the operations and management of the school district. This assignment really did cover a lot of things, very broad, but really helped narrow everything down at times. All about the equitable schools resources and how we do things. Next was the relevance statement. Very relevant to our learning. We need to know this stuff. We need to know kind of top down who's in charge of what and who really has kind of the say, if it's something that needs to be more of a local level, or it needs to be broadened out, or obviously if it needs to be a nation's change. This assignment really helped with that. Reflection, it was nice to really learn. I really hadn't thought a whole lot about how or why this stuff is passed down. It's a lot of rules and regulations are passed down because something happened. Somebody got in trouble, something was unjust. So really learning about how everything is funneled through and passed down. Obviously, there's a lot of other stuff in here, and I don't want to go and, I'm not really political, but obviously there's a lot of stuff politically wise right now with how this whole situation works and how we can really help our districts grow and be successful. To wrap things up, here are my references. Appreciate everybody watching. Enjoy. I am excited to watch and learn about some of you guys. I know we'll have a couple of you that I've been in class with already, but excited to get to know some of the others. Good luck in this course. See you guys around.